Porsche is the mark that gave the automotive world the holy three-digit number, the 911. Porsche also gave the industry a lesson in timeless design. And just as these facets become holy scriptures for the worshippers of speed, Porsche unleashed a prophecy that would shape the future of performance cars. In a rally-bred 959, Porsche foresaw sports car level of performance on a high-riding car, and that went on to redefine the meaning of sports in a sports utility vehicle. The modern-day bearer of this prophecy is called the Cayenne, and like them or not, but the likes of the Bentayga, the Levante, the Urus, its soon-to-be-born enemy from Modena, and the army of AMG S and M badged SUVs from Germany are all conceived from the same idea. Their ability to combine racetrack-worthy performance with everyday practicality and a certain degree of bad road capability keeps the cash registers ringing for their makers. Many purists still cringe at the idea of a Porsche SUV, but the Cayenne, which is now in its third generation, is a special car in more ways than one. The Porsche Cayenne is a very important car for the brand. It sells in big numbers, and that way it is quite important because it brings in the big bucks, and that means that people like you and I can continue enjoying new and improved 911s quite often. In typical Porsche fashion, the design is evolutionary and hard to differentiate from the outgoing model. Look at the boot for a seamless strip of glass enveloping the Porsche lettering and connecting the sleek LED taillights, and you will know it's the new Cayenne. That strip also highlights the broad shoulders of the new model. Unlike typical Porsche designs where the bonnet is placed lower than the headlights, the new hood sits in line with them. The headlights can now be specified with adaptive matrix LED lamps. The bumpers retain their three-pot layout but have tighter shapes for the air intakes and cooling ducts and feature active flaps as well. The glass dome in the central dam for the road monitoring cameras and the sensors looks a bit ungainly though. The Cayenne's roof has been lowered by 1 cm, while the wheel sizes have gone up by an inch across variants, and that, along with the tighter lines, make the overall profile of the Cayenne look athletic and significantly more compact than the rest of the lineage. It may seem compact on the outside, but the moment you climb into the cabin, you get a nice commanding view of the road like a typical high-riding SUV. And the first thing that you will notice the moment you get in is the cleaner center console. All that switchgear clutter is gone. Pressure touch switches like in the new Panamera replace the conventional switchgear and reduce the visual clutter. A 12.3-inch infotainment screen grabs attention away from the trademark Porsche clock and dominates the Cayenne typical vertical profile of the dashboard. It feels like they stashed a netbook into the dashboard. The software feels like it too. You can customize the layout, you can have your own apps, you can have a Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can also stream entertainment off the internet. I love the new instrumentation too. A large analog tachometer is flanked by two 7-inch digital screens that can display sat-nav maps and infotainment data, or simply mimic the 5-pot instrumentation of yesteryear Porsche cars, to keep the purists happy. We were invited by Porsche Middle East to sample the new Cayenne along the seashore of Fujairah near Dubai. We even crossed borders and drove into some arid mountainous terrain in Oman to experience the car's off-road capabilities. Smooth tarmac always puts a smile on the Cayenne's face, and our drive rolled out plenty of it for this vehicle. The new turbocharged V6 petrol engines in both the Cayenne and the Cayenne S sing melodiously to the 6000 plus RPM redline. The S sounds better with its 4-pot sports exhaust. Neither of these engines feel turbocharged and pull in a strong, linear manner. The bi-turbo engine in the Cayenne S just feels more eager with more on-tap power even when driving in normal mode. Sport and Sport Plus modes make the response much sharper, of course. Like most new age Porsches, you get this nice little rotary dial on the steering wheel that lets you cycle between different driving modes like normal, sport, Sport Plus and individual. You also get a little switch in between that dial, which when pressed will give you a boost in power for about 20 seconds. It will tell you that the Sport Plus mode has been activated for 20 seconds with a countdown timer. So say you're driving in the city or cruising down the highway and you want to pull an overtake and you need that quick burst in power, press the switch and you get it. However, though it says that it engages the Sport Plus mode, it only makes changes to the engine character. It will not make any changes to the suspension behavior. That's because Porsche believes that making sudden changes to the chassis may not be a good idea. And I agree with that. Choose the Sport or Sport Plus mode manually though, and the optional adaptive suspension will stiffen up to impart tauter dynamics. Apart from maintaining a near flat ride through corners, it also lets you raise the body for going off the beaten path. For the latter, the Cayenne has some finely tuned toys too. It gets 2 lockable differentials which will alter their behavior depending on the presets you choose: gravel, sand, snow, etc. Despite the road bias P0 tires, I think this car has a decent capability off the beaten path as well. Now, the kind of terrain that we have been driving around on right now is very similar to what you would encounter in Ladakh during the off-season period, let me put it that way. And I don't think you would subject a Cayenne to anything worse than that kind of terrain back in India. So I think it does a pretty good job. It's also got a nice hill descent control, which unlike some of the other cars where the moment you dab the throttle is deactivated, here it's still always active. You can control the speed using the brakes or the throttle the way you like. But if you don't want to do it, just get off the pedals and the car regains control and it works like magic. On the road, the tires are an absolute delight. They seem to have never-ending grip, and Porsche's near-perfect dynamics are the sweet icing on the cake. The car now also feels lighter to drive than before, courtesy of the aluminium diet that forms 47% of its chassis construction and drops the weight by up to 65 kilos depending on the variant you choose. The Cayenne now also comes with the Acclaimed rear axle steering, which makes it more agile. And there's the 4-wheel drive system too. Porsche's 4-wheel drive system is called the hang-on 4-wheel drive system. Now what that means is, unlike a conventional 4-wheel drive system where a certain degree of power is always fed to the front wheels as well, no matter whether you need it or not, Porsche's system can actually transfer 100% of the power and torque to the rear wheels. And that ensures good driving fun when you hit the twisties or when you don't really need the grip of a 4-wheel drive. Apart from a highly alert but discreet safety net, Porsche also lets you opt for its new tungsten carbide coated disc brakes, which have better friction, lesser fade and brake dust, and a mirror finish appearance compared to the conventional cast iron brakes. On our drive, we didn't really push the limits of either types of brakes to identify any operational difference. But if you belong to a rare but expanding breed that takes SUVs to the racetrack, you might want to opt for these surface coated brakes, which are second only to the track-bred carbon ceramic brakes. Either way, the Cayenne is usually bought by those who want superiority in driving dynamics over the other luxury SUVs and crossovers in the market. I think with all the driving that we have done today on the highway, a little bit around the twisties, a little bit off the road as well, I think it would be safe to say that the new Cayenne is going to be a fun car to drive no matter what terrain you drive it on. And that is a very good news for anyone who is looking forward to buying the new Cayenne. The better news, however, is that the Cayenne and the Cayennes that we've driven today are probably going to be the last of the variants to come to the market. The new Cayenne begins its innings in India with the Cayenne Turbo. 4-litre bi-turbo V8, 550 PS of power and over 700 Newton meters of torque. Now that is something worth looking forward to.